Hey, I'm Brian with HVAC School.
And I'm Sal with Products by Pros. And this video here today is mainly for the wholesalers out there that are starting to carry the Accutools TruBlu kit. And we just want to make sure that you're comfortable with talking about this kit when contractors come up and ask you about different products out there, or you see that they're having issues with pulling a vacuum in the field today. This is going to be quite a role-playing type deal with Brian Knorr, who would act as the contractor and I'll act as the salesperson.
Well, I'm not acting, I am a contractor.
You know, what's the way that you go to the field and start pulling a vacuum? How do you do that step-by-step process? Can you explain that real quick?
Sure. I just hook my gauges up to the system and I take my center hose, hook it to my vacuum pump and run her for 30 minutes and she's good to go.
Okay, well that sounds a little bit too simple,
that's most what most contractors
and about
do.
How long does that take you?
Oh, I usually let it run for about 2 smokes, about 30 minutes.
2 smokes. And that's a good point, because this product isn't for everybody. This product is for guys that actually care about saving time in the field, have their own company, want to get to the next job, or guys that work for a company that they care about that company and the customers they're servicing, spending the least amount of time possible, but doing the best job possible out in the field as well. I mean, that's a really good point. The TruBlu hoses, what makes them, why it's worthwhile for you to think about getting them, because maybe you do care about that time that you spend in the field, is most guys don't realize, but they're doing vacuum 100% wrong. Because what you missed there when you talked to me and told me about the way that you pull a vacuum is you don't pull out the core at all, right?
I don't pull out the core. I don't put a micron gauge on it. If I do put a micron gauge, I put it in the wrong spot. That's the typical contractor. So when you're talking about TruBlu, most contractors are going to say, like you said, oh, I pull it in 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And once you start to ask how they do it, even if they use a micron gauge, they're leaving the cores in and they're putting the micron gauge at the pump or at the gauges, and there's significant pressure drop in between the system itself and those gauges. And so the next question you ask is, well, when you're done pulling your vacuum to below 500, do you valve it off to see if it rises up again? Most of them don't have a way to do that because they're pulling on the pump side, and so they can't actually tell if they pull.
So it's not even accurate. Even though you walked away for 3 hours and you feel like you've gotten that accurate pull down, you're not really pulling a proper vacuum. Do you understand how pulling down a vacuum works from the high pressure in the system, the low pressure on the vacuum pump, and the bridge between?
No, I mean, I just hook it up and run it 30 minutes and it gets down to 500 and I'm good, right?
So most guys don't realize this, but vacuum is actually a pushing activity of pushing contaminants out of the system, right? High pressure in the system, low pressure created by the vacuum pump, and the bridge between is supposed to be low pressure as well. And most guys like you or other technicians out in the field might be using 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch hoses, which aren't even those true ID diameters. Those are the outer diameters. What we did is we created the least amount of pressure possible in the bridge between the vacuum pump and the system with the TruBlu vacuum rated non-permeable hoses with 3/4 inch ID inner diameter. So that's how we're able to decrease our speed as much as possible in the field. What we have here is well, actually this is the kit that I typically take around, this size fitting right here.
Yeah. Answer is no.
Yes, but at the end of the day, most guys can get away with the one hose kit. It comes with the fittings for the different applications that you may have, but the 3/4 inch hoses is what's very important. Common question I get is, aren't you restricted by this size fitting right here?
Answer is no, because the primary factor is the conductance speed of the hoses themselves. You think of it like a toll booth in a highway. It doesn't matter if you have a small restriction, so long as the highway is, by and large, multiple lanes. You can have a small restriction, and that does restrict, but it's still not the primary limiting factor. And we've tested this time and time again.
Absolutely. Most guys think, this is a very expensive kit, 3 hoses, that's a lot, and it might help me pull down a faster vacuum, but I don't know if I really want to spend that money. Well, you don't really need to spend that money. This is more for commercial, industrial applications. You're very technical guys out in the field that just wanted to have everything in a cool case.
Or even service technicians who are doing a lot of parts like compressors, where you're pulling on potentially contaminated oil and you have to have a lot more volume. That's where the 2 hoses come in handy. But especially for your typical installers, we're finding that you can pull down an average system in under 5 minutes using just a single hose setup.
Single hose kit, right? So this is the single hose kit. And a lot of guys balk at the price, and we're not going to get into pricing today, but if anybody wants to know the pricing, just go to your nearest wholesaler that's carrying the product. But the kit comes with your one hose. It comes with the K fittings that you need for your install to attach to the hoses. This valve core removal tool already comes with the starter kit itself. Like I said, there's 4 different SKUs for the TruBlu hose kits. There's 2 versions of the starter kit one hose kit, either in a 1 meter version or 1.5 meter version. And there's a TruBlu Advanced and a TruBlu Pro kit. The TruBlu Advanced kit comes with 2 1 meter hoses in addition to the valve core remover, the different fittings, a 90, as well as a core depressor if you run into situations in a tight spot where it's tough to get a valve core remover in the area that you're working in. And then the Pro kit comes with the 3 hose version and also the fittings, elbow, and the core depressor and core removal tool as well.
So the main thing to know here for a contractor is that most contractors aren't going to come in knowing why they want to use this, because A, they're not pulling a good vacuum to begin with, and B, they've never seen speeds like they're going to get with this. So this solves two problems in one. First off, you're going to actually get a good system vacuum to below 500 microns and holding below 500 microns, which is key. And you're going to do it very quickly. You're going to do it in 5 minutes and under for most residential changeouts. It's going to be a little longer for if you're replacing a compressor, that sort of thing, because you have oil that needs to be pulled on that takes a little longer. But the point is that most of the contractors who are coming into your supply house have never pulled a proper vacuum in their lives. And this will give them the ability to not only do it, but to do it quickly.
And just from an advanced contractor's point of view, another objection I get is, am I going to pull it so fast that it's going to freeze up? Or another objection that I get is I have a 6 CFM pump, so I'm good to go with even a 1/4 inch hose.
So one thing to know is when you're using 1/4 inch hoses with a 6 CFM pump or whatever CFM pump, you're still going to pull less than 1/2 CFM at 1,000 microns.
So it doesn't matter the size.
Which means that it doesn't matter the size of your pump for the hoses that most people are using. When you go to this size hose, well, now you can take full advantage of a 6, 8, 12 CFM pump, because now you have that internal volume to go along with it. You need to remove the cores. That's a huge piece of it. A lot of people will say if you pull down too quickly, you're going to freeze moisture in the system. That's just not going to happen in a typical air conditioning system unless the outdoor ambient conditions are already close to freezing. Because air conditioners are very good at transferring heat, as you start to pull down and as those temperatures drop, more heat is going to enter and it's going to help boil off that water in the system. So for a typical contractor, this is the kit you need to use. Those objections are invalid. It works great. We've tested it tons and tons of times. If you look up online, YouTube, anywhere, type in BlueVac or TruBlu hoses, and you'll see all the demonstrations of how quickly this can be done.
Yep. And if anybody needs help finding a wholesaler or getting any questions answered, just feel free to reach out at Sal at Products by Pros or
Brian at hvacrschool.com.
Thank you.